Be honest with me for a second. Have you ever looked at your own relationship or, maybe one from your past and thought to yourself, wait, are we that couple? It happens to all of us. You might feel totally stuck in these passive relationship patterns, the kind where you're just constantly repeating the exact same arguments or maybe chasing the exact same toxic dynamics over and over, and you literally have no idea why. Well, guess what? You're not alone. And more importantly, it's not random. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden biological and psychological glitches that actually create these crazy patterns. Welcome to the Expliger. Today, we are diving deep into the algorithm of love, and specifically why 12 distinct relationship types exist. Because as it turns out, our brain chemistry is secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes of our romantic lives, creating the most common relationship habits we see around us every single day. By the end of this, you are probably going to know exactly which pattern you fall into, and way more importantly, you'll know how to actually take control of it. So, let's get into it. Here is our quick roadmap for today. First, the biology of attraction. Then, the dopamine slot machine. Third, the 12 relationship archetypes. Fourth, the power couple exception. And finally, number 5, beating the relationship algorithm. Alright, section 1. The biology of attraction. Because long before you are ever picking out anniversary gifts, your brain is already working in absolute overdrive to just manufacture attraction out of thin air. Okay. So, the early stages of a crush are honestly fascinating, mostly because you don't actually know the person that well, right? I mean, you might not know their last name, or if they even bother to return their shopping cart at the grocery store. But your brain absolutely hates missing information. It despises a vacuum. So what does it do? It fills in the blanks with what it hopes is true, and this right here is called the halo effect. If they happen to remember your name, your brain takes that one tiny positive detail and just goes, wow, they must be an amazingly kind and thoughtful person. And next thing you know, you're lying in bed at 2 a.m., totally overthinking a 5-second interaction. You aren't crushing on the actual human being, you're crushing on a completely fake, totally idealized version that your brain just invented. And there is a massive, massive difference between that initial chaotic spark and real love. A crush is incredibly fast. It's essentially this intense chemical panic fueled by dopamine, screaming, oh my gosh, they're perfect. But love is so much slower. It's a marathon, and it is firmly based in reality. Love runs on oxytocin, which is a chemical tied to deep bonding and trust. So while a crush runs on your own idealized fantasies, love looks at the harsh reality and says, hey, I see your flaws, and I am still here. But we've got to remember that sometimes genetics just completely override psychology. It's wild. Your nose is actually picking up pheromones carrying all this physical and genetic info. And check out this crazy fact from the research. Women's bodies specifically respond to these things called MHC molecules, which are directly involved in immune function. They actually tend to prefer the scent of men whose immune genes are different from their own. Why? Because it gives potential offspring a massive survival advantage. So opposites literally do attract on a deeply biological level. And then think about that crucial first kiss. It's not just romantic. It's a massive exchange of breath, timing, and tactile information. If your biology matches up, boom, norepinephrine kicks in, your fight or flight system lights up, and adrenaline just skyrockets. But if that biological match isn't there, the romantic pull just flat out won't happen, no matter how much you want it to. Moving on, section 2, the dopamine slot machine. This is exactly where unpredictable chemical rewards start forging our absolute worst relationship habits. You're not addicted to the person. You're addicted to a slot machine with a heartbeat. Man, that hits hard, doesn't it? This whole idea is rooted in B.F. Skinner's famous psychology research. He proved that unpredictable rewards are by far the most addictive. Think about it. When affection keeps disappearing and then coming back, like when they text back instantly today but totally ignore you for 3 days tomorrow, your brain just goes into absolute overdrive. You don't win every single time, sure, but that tiny, maybe this time feeling, that is more than enough to keep you emotionally gambling. Your brain honestly doesn't care that the relationship is completely unstable and toxic. It literally just cares that the dopamine reward eventually showed up. Seriously, think about attention that is just freely given. If you're always available, always initiating everything, you basically just become background noise. But look at earned investment. It is exactly like a claw machine at an arcade. At first, you don't even really want that cheap stuffed animal, right? But after you drop in a few tokens, miss by an inch, and have to try again, suddenly you care way more than you ever should. People value what they feel they've worked for. If you go all in immediately, you totally remove the tension. And without tension, well, there's nothing left to earn. All right, section 3, the 12 relationship archetypes. This is where those biological triggers and psychological traps we just talked about officially cement themselves into highly predictable couple habits. Okay, so why do these 12 relationship types exist? It's because they are direct manifestations of those exact biological glitches we covered. Take a look at the addicts, the toxic, on and off, and rebound couples. They are deeply, deeply trapped in that dopamine slot machine. Then you've got the codependent. You know, the chaos couple out there sharing a single brain cell, or the black cat and golden retriever dynamic where they're essentially splitting the labor of being one functional human being. Under the performers, we find couples literally manufacturing their affection. The PDA couple making everybody uncomfortable, the gym couple negotiating protein shakes like it's a hostage situation, and of course the influencer couple. I mean, if your anniversary reel needed 12 retakes, you really gotta ask who it was actually for. And finally, the proximity group. Gamer couples where one game of Mario Kart exposes deep communication flaws. Long-distance couples constantly battling ambiguity, and the nostalgic couple. Let's pause on that last group for a second. Comfort wearing love's clothes. That phrase is just, wow, it is so powerful. It highlights a massive danger for the nostalgic and the convenience couples. See, pure momentum is so frequently mistaken for actual passion. When you have been with someone for years, breaking up just sounds like way more work than staying. Splitting up the furniture, finding a new apartment, moving out, it's exhausting. But listen, if the main reason you are still together is simply that ending it sounds like too much paperwork, you aren't really in a relationship anymore. That's just a lease you're both still paying on. Which brings us to section 4, the power couple exception. This is the ideal 13th archetype, and it completely shatters the mold of everything we've looked at so far. So the famous relationship researcher John Gottman found something absolutely fascinating. Couples who actually last, the true power couples, they aren't the ones who just magically never fight. They're not richer, they're not naturally more attractive, and they definitely aren't just luckier. The real secret, as Gottman puts it, they're simply making more deposits than withdrawals. Even right in the middle of a conflict, they're consistently having far more positive interactions with each other than negative ones. In practice, here's what that actually looks like. Most of the 12 archetype couples are basically competing against each other, trying to win an argument. But the power couple, they're competing against the problem. Instead of trying to defeat their partner, they team up to solve the issue together. They don't hide their real personalities. They certainly don't rely on cheap dopamine thrills. They communicate and they tackle life side by side. Finally, section 5, beating the relationship algorithm. If we want to become that 13th archetype, we have to stop relying on passive habits and start applying a structured, almost business-minded approach to love. Okay, bear with me here because this might sound a little crazy, but we're going to draw a direct parallel between love and the rules of successful YouTube channel automation. Seriously, the psychology is identical. Step 1, do your research. A successful channel doesn't just guess what its viewers want, it actively researches it. In a relationship, you absolutely must understand your partner's actual needs, not just guess at them. Step 2, provide real value. Don't just rely on entertaining them with unpredictable dopamine spikes. And step 3, publish consistently. Just like an algorithm responds to consistent behavior, you have to make daily deposits to build long-term trust and retention. You really need to think of your relationship as an asset that you are actively, intentionally building every single day. So what does providing value actually look like on a day-to-day basis? It means teaching them something new, solving a problem together, or just helping them save some time. True value keeps people coming back. Oh, and then there's this, the favor effect. This is such an incredible psychological tool. A famous 1971 study from the University of North Carolina found that when people do something kind for someone else, they actually end up liking that person more. Isn't that wild? So instead of always being the one doing things for your partner, let them do small favors for you. Ask to borrow a pencil or ask them to hold your drink. Their brain subconsciously justifies the effort by thinking, well, I'm helping them because I really like them. It's a total game changer. All of this brings us to a really provocative question that I want you to ask yourself right now. What kind of deposits are you making today? Remember, the healthiest relationships out there aren't the loudest ones performing for everyone in the mall food court. They are the quiet ones, the ones where two people wake up every single day and consciously choose to build something of lasting value together. You do not have to stay trapped in those 12 unconscious relationship patterns. Stop relying on luck, get off the dopamine slot machine once and for all, and start actively investing in your relationship algorithm. Thank you so much for joining me on this Explainer. I really hope this completely changes how you view your everyday interactions. See you next time.